Hello, and welcome to episode 99 of the Great Canadian Hockey Podcast. I'm James Parisi here with my co-host Aiden Sarah, and it's Christmas, bro. It's the holiday season. I'm feeling festive. I've got the bedroom decorated. I'm feeling really good. I went to see some Christmas lights last night. I'm getting excited to see the family. I had the first couple gift exchanges and getting to see the smile on people's faces. I'm truly in the holiday spirit. I hope all you listeners are. But my number one priority here, how is my co-host doing? Is he feeling
Solid.
festive? How are we?
Feeling festive. I worked at London Drugs for I think two Christmases, and it was when I was in my mid late teens, and it kind of butchered the idea of Christmas for me.
Hmm.
It was horrible, the retail at Christmas experience. So
Yeah, I
since
work at
then,
Canadian Tire during Christmas time. I know what you mean.
yeah, since then it's kind of been me trying to get more and more into it, and it feels like something happens every year where it's like, oh, that was that put a huge dark spot on the holiday. But everything is so far so good from here, so I'm excited. By the time this comes out, it'll be the 23rd. So Merry Christmas to everybody, whether it is after or not. If it is after, the World Juniors are in full swing. I'll be very excited about that. James will be very excited about that. And we will get there by the end of this episode. But, James, it has been, I think, by my count, at least 14 days since we've done a podcast episode.
I believe you're
In the
correct.
Yeah, so I know we're less than 2 minutes in, but are we diving headlong into this pile of very intriguing information?
First off, just a little bit of holiday prep before we get into all of the crazy hockey news that's gone on. Get together with your friends, get together with your families. I mean, the holidays, even if you're not a big holiday person, they're an awesome time to watch sports together. The NFL, the NBA both do games on Christmas Day, which I am happy the NHL doesn't do. Let that be their thing. And then you get World Juniors all through the holiday season. It's You get a Christmas trade freeze, which results in some of the action that we've just seen over the last week or so. But most importantly, like even if you're not a Christmas person, just still get together with people. Just that sense of togetherness that can help invigorate some happy in you around the holiday season because you know the holidays are tough for some people. I know plenty of people that they're not a good time of year for. So yeah, check in on those loved ones. Have fun where you can. Enjoy the pretty lights. Simple things, right? My girlfriend and I went to Lafarge Lake Christmas lights in Coquitlam last night, and we got a corn dog and went for a walk and looked at lights. It was a lot of fun. It was low maintenance and it was free. It's the best price you can get. Even the parking was free, Aiden. I lucked out on that one. So, yeah, good experiences to be had all around. But Aiden has a point. Let's dive into some of this action. First and foremost, it is a monumental occasion when a player of this caliber gets moved in the NHL. I think back, and it's been quite a while. I mean, like Subban for Weber is probably that's one of the ones that also always jumps to my mind because those are two guys who were perennial Norris nominees, one of which had won the Norris before. And the size of that one for one trade is something that's like that. Taylor Hall for Adam Larson. Adam Larson didn't end up being that big of a player, played a ton of games, but Taylor Hall won a Hart Trophy after that. So that's really all I can say for size. But I'll stop burying the lead here. Quinn Hughes is now a member of the Minnesota Wild.
There's only two trades I can think of that rival this in the recent memory. Jack Eichel is one of them. Eichel, I think, is a little bit different, but Matthew Tkachuk for Jonathan Huberdeau was the other one that
Right.
came to my mind. Um, Now, both of those were telegraphed, right? Like the Kachuk Huberto one, we almost knew something was coming in the summer, and it came out of nowhere as far as oh, it was in the summer. But in the summer, you expect NHL news. Hughes got traded on December 12th. Um, so that already absolutely blindsided me. We've seen time and time again this team when it seems like a player being moved is inevitable. they decide for whatever reason to wait until the last possible second to get the worst possible return they can. I'm thinking JT Miller. So I was ecstatic to see this. Quinn Hughes to Minnesota for Marco Rossi, Liam Ogren, Zeev Boyum, and a 2026 first round pick. So, James, from not a Canucks fan's perspective first, I'll ask you for your breakdown from a neutral third party perspective. Now, you're a neutral, but this guy just got traded into Colorado's division, so I imagine that is a little bit of a a little bit scary. But save for that, I want to hear what you have to say.
You know what? I'm not scared. Colorado just smoked those Minnesota Wild 5-1. I'm really, really not worried. Quinn Hughes looked fairly pedestrian defensively in that game from everything I saw. I'm not saying he's not a world beater and game-breaking player, but I mean, from the outside perspective, I love the return for the Vancouver Canucks. I love the grabbing the world by the balls move for the Minnesota Wild. I don't think there's a winner and a loser in this trade because this was a great trade for everyone involved. And that's not just for fans, that's not just for the organization. This is a great trade for these players as well. Quinn Hughes gets to go play in somewhere else, somewhere where they're going to be a little bit more dialed into getting in the playoffs and doing some damage right away. And it's a roster just loaded with talent, and it's a fan base that loves the sport. A little bit less under the microscope, and he's not the guy there. So that's already a little bit better of a situation for him. Vancouver gets Steve Boyum, a potential top pair of D. You get Rossi, who I'd like a little bit more I'd like a little bit more truculence in his game per
Okay.
se. I was searching for the word without using some words that I don't really want to use. It would have taken me significantly less words if I was sitting on a bar stool drinking a beer and talking to someone where I don't care about what I say being recorded. But I definitely love what he provides from a top six center perspective. I mean, just the lack of truculence between him and your top line center worries me a little bit. But I mean, a lot of that can change over time as well. That's a lot of perspective on the game. And Liam Ogren could be a beast up front. I love the middle six power forward kind of thing that you could get from him. I love what I've seen so far. And a first round pick, which to me is just a bonus. The trade was fair without the first rounder. Now you get a lottery ball in there to do what you want with. It's probably going to be around pick 25, something like that. But you scout well, you draft well. That could be a guy you develop, or it could be an asset you move. Whichever the outcome, I'm happy for it on every side involved, especially for those working in Vancouver's media landscape. All those people who were assigned every day to find a story in Quinn Hughes's depressed monotone. Yeah, well, we'll just do what's best for the blah, 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 blah. There's no story in there, but these people were charged with finding a story every single day during their 8 hour shift. And yeah, they get to be a little bit more creative now. So happy for them.
Yeah, reportedly he had told the Canucks before American Thanksgiving that he did not want to come back. I like I said, when you have a player that it's pretty well known that he does not want to stay where he is, your leverage in a trade becomes a bidding war, and that's it. Like that's why JT Miller's return was so dismal for the quality of player that he at one point was in Vancouver. Not only was his demand as far as his no trade clause very limited, but the New York Rangers and everybody else knew that Vancouver and JT Miller were done. It wasn't working anymore. It wasn't something that was going to continue at all. And so the Rangers were able to get a player for a very low value. That happens when you wait too long. So I am very, very thrilled, not just with the return, but the fact that the Vancouver Canucks didn't fall into the trap of waiting too long again. So many times the Canucks lose to themselves, right? And we've talked about the management, the ownership structure a lot on this podcast, but Vancouver's struggles and Vancouver's inability to have any playoff success is often because when the going gets tough, they shoot themselves right in the foot. this is a move that is the opposite of that. It is a move that you is done thinking longer than selling playoff tickets next season, which is something that I've not seen the Vancouver Canucks do ever, is make a move that is beyond thinking about selling playoff tickets next season. As far as Yves Boyum goes, this is a top 3 U21 drafted defenseman, I think, right now. That's not taking the Keaton Veerhoff and the crew at the top of this draft into account, but we definitely know Matthew Schaefer's above him. I can't confidently say many others are. I picked him as the best rookie in the West this year. Remember that at the start of the season.
Yep.
If I had to pick anybody to get back in a trade, this guy would be one of the first 5 names that I said, I think.
I like this more than all of the mock return packages from Detroit that everyone had in mind.
Yeah, and we heard after that New Jersey had a package on the table, Carolina had a package on the table. Carolina surrounded Alexander Nikishin. New Jersey surrounded Simon Nemec and Dawson Mercer. I like all those players, but I don't think any of them are have as high a ceiling as Boyum. Marco Rossi, to me, we saw him post 60 points in 82 games. Marco Rossi's development was hindered by COVID in a way that not many other players were. He got incredibly physically sick after contracting COVID, missed the entirety of his draft year +1, was still able to rally back, put up 2 excellent pro seasons in the AHL with Iowa, put up 2 excellent pro seasons with Minnesota prior to this year. He gets hurt this year. He's had a little bit of a slow start, but 14 points in 21 games is nothing to shake your head at. And for Rossi, this is a player that I think is Vancouver's second line center for as long as they want him to be. Liam Ogren, all the tools, and he's got the brain to match. He's a very smart hockey player. He's big, he's strong, he can skate, he's got skill. What I love about Ogren is even if he does not develop into a top 6 forward, what you called him a middle 6 forward, this is an incredibly third line player at worst to me. Like I don't see the way that with his tool set and again with his brain that even if you can't be the top 6 center you were or top 6 forward you were maybe drafted to be in 2022, you can't be that effective third liner. Think of Nino Niederreiter, James. Picked 5th overall by the Islanders. His first season, I think he had 1 goal and 1 point in 55 games. Michael Frolik is another example where these players look very skilled out of Europe. They come into the NHL and they struggle for top 6 minutes. So when a player is very smart, they are able to transition into a role that they can still fit in, they can still succeed, and they can still help the team and be a good NHL player. Liam Ogren has those tools. So for me, Ogren's not a throw-in at all in this trade, and I really like all 3 players they got back, and I really like the fact that they made the trade now because the value came from the fact there was a bidding war, period.
Love to see it. And reception seems to be pretty good through most of the people who are in the know and know the sport well among Canucks fans. I've seen a lot of people who just like don't really know who any of the players in return are. And I mean, that's just casual fans for you. I mean, there are different levels to loving this, so can't really fault them for that. But if they want to know, they can tune in. They can learn a little bit more. Aiden, how about we talk about a couple of the other trades that have come in over the past week or two, coming in before the trade freeze here. Edmonton
Yeah,
Oilers finally making a move in net.
yeah. We talked on the podcast last week about how good Jesper Wallstedt looked, and not only am I expected, I kind of still expect Minnesota to make good on that duo in a trade eventually. I don't know if it's this year, especially with the team they've amassed, but in the summer I would not be surprised if we see Philip Gustafsson get moved out the door. I don't know if Edmonton made that attempt for him, but as far as acquiring goaltenders goes, James, I like Tristan Jarry
Do you?
as a guy and
Yeah, yeah.
a 1B maybe, but save for that, it's an upgrade. It's
Is it?
it's barely an upgrade, I think, unfortunately, like being honest with you. And for the Edmonton Oilers, you don't have that many kicks at this can left with this group. and you've had Stuart Skinner backstop you to consecutive Stanley Cup final losses. And to me, if Tristan Jarry struggles in these playoffs, this will absolutely, absolutely look like a trade that was a flub and a massive swing and a miss. They got Spencer Stastny. I like Spencer Stastny. I think he's a really good number 5 defenseman. But adding a number 5 defenseman and a 1B is such a fraction of what Edmonton needs to do
And
to
didn't they pay like 2 draft picks as well to do that?
for Stastny or for
They
Jari.
paid a draft pick for Stastny, and they paid a draft pick in the Jari Skinner deal.
Yeah, they did, and not only a draft pick, like they got Stastny for a third round pick, but they had to give up a second to the Penguins. And Samuel Poulin came back the other way. Samuel Poulin looks really solid in the AHL, but I don't think he's going to make that step into the NHL in
I
that
was
same offensive
confident about
position.
him as a prospect 4 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. He's unfortunately to me one of those guys, and I used to call it Jeff Tambellini. Now to me they're Samuel Fogamos, where you are very very skilled and you are going to absolutely tear up the AHL, but you don't have the extra step. I was talking about Ogren having the tool set to still be a bottom 6 forward. I don't think Poulin does. I think 6'2" and 213 pounds he could, but everything I've seen out of him is kind of a one dimensional scorer and not so much a player that you can confidently slot into your bottom 6 and say he's going to turn out any performance we need him to turn out. So I think Pittsburgh won this trade. I
Yeah,
do.
they've been winning most of their trades
Yeah.
for a while now.
Yeah.
It's like you keep stacking those trade wins. That's pretty nice. I just want to take a moment to appreciate. I mean, it wasn't always good in Edmonton for Stuart Skinner, but there were some really, really hot times, man. Like there were those couple series against the Dallas Stars. I mean, that's probably the best hockey the guy's ever played in his life. And in that big of a moment, on that big of a stage against that ridiculous of an opponent, I understand that he couldn't get the job done, but I think that's an all hands on deck situation, and it's not all his fault. I would like to cast a significant portion of the blame to the blue line in front of him. I don't really think Jari is going to be able to do you that much better. I understand the change of scenery thing, but I think people in Edmonton really need to appreciate what they had in Stuart Skinner for a brief time there. It's there were good moments, and his teammates loved him very much as well. Time to move on from this trade, onto another one. A player reuniting with his former team. Philip Danault headed back to the Montreal Canadiens. LA Kings trading him away for a second rounder. Aiden, this is kind of a feel good story.
This is an absolute slam dunk if you're the LA Kings. But if you're Montreal, I do think there's an element of for the vibes that they brought Philip Deneau back for. He was loved in Montreal. He was an excellent face. The French guy who was always there for the media, always there for his teammates, always sticking up for guys. He had some of the best seasons of his career in Montreal. He's not a huge point producer, and I do wonder if they need more of a point producer as a second line center. Even at his best, points were never the front of his game, but now he's 32 years old and he's only got 5 assists in 30 games. So I do think Montreal massively overpaid for this, but the contract does not look as bad as when he first signed it. It looked like paying Deneau $5.5 million until he was 34 years old was going to age horribly. The fact that the salary cap has gone up so much has aged this contract significantly better, because now you're paying $5.5 million for a middle six center that you know come big games is going to be able to reliably play against the other team's best players. And for a team as young as Montreal, if they want to have some success in the playoffs, I think this was necessary. Second round pick was a little bit too much to give up, in my opinion, so the LA Kings, I think, did a little bit better. But Montreal, to me, with the amount of picks and the prospects they have, it's a second round pick they can afford to give up.
And what other centers are out there? the center market is bare, like dead thin, and every team wants a second or third line center. So, you know how many teams were probably offering a third rounder, a fourth rounder, a fifth rounder, and a weak prospect? Like it, I have no doubts that there was a bidding war of some kind here. And I don't think it was an overpay in any way, shape, or form, especially when you look at what teams pay for guys for a run. A veteran leader with a great penalty killing pedigree who's going to kill it on the draws. I think they paid a pretty fair price. I understand he's not the Phil Deno that he was before, but I mean, what he's going to bring to that team aside from scoring, I think it's worth a second round pick.
LA's still in that wild card spot. They're going to have to make a decision. I do think that it's a playoff season for them without a doubt, especially in the last one for Kopitar. But with the age that Kopitar and Doughty are at, they did re-sign Adrian Kempe. They're going to have to make a decision about what timeline they want to go on. Is Quinton Byfield, Brian Clark, Adrian Kempe the group they want to try and compete with, or is it going to be take a step back, retool a little bit, and try and have another kick at the can? Philip Deneau trade is good in either sense for me because, like I said, 32 years old, only 5 assists this season for a Los Angeles Kings team that are starved for goal scoring. Second round pick, getting it back. If LA wants to use that for another asset, power to them. If they want to keep it and add to their prospect cupboard, I think both are completely fine options for that team.
One more deal for you guys for on this episode. Mason Marchment acquired by the Columbus Blue Jackets from the Seattle Kraken in exchange for a second and a fourth rounder. I love Mason Marchment. I think he's going to fit in wonderfully in Columbus. I thought he was a good pickup for the Seattle Kraken. I thought he was a solid member of the Dallas Stars. I love the player, love him everywhere he's been. But this is just a case of poor asset management by the Seattle Kraken, who are just a dead flat, boring, useless team that I have zero interest in whatsoever. I'm just so over them. I don't care about them. Like this is the most I'm going to talk about them over the next little while. Sick barn though, if I have to throw in some positivity. Very, very sick place to watch a hockey game. Um, the Kraken paid a second and a third for Marchment 6 months ago, and then they just trade him away for a second and a fourth. Like, why are you doing this? I don't understand what the point
James,
is.
James, it was a third and a fourth. Third and a fourth from Dallas to Seattle. They didn't have to give up a second rounder for him.
Are you sure?
Yeah, yeah. So to me, I understand what
Well,
you're
it was
saying with
good asset
Seattle.
management.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying with Seattle. Um, I think it was good asset management, but not only because of the pick upgrade. The the fact that they were able to get the second rounder for a 30-year-old guy, where again it's a middle six winger. I know he's 6'5", 220 or 212 pounds. He's physically capable, but this is a very streaky player. He can look for stretches at like a first line perfect complementary piece to two superstars. Absolutely amazing line mate for a Wyatt Johnston and a Mikko Rantanen, but then he just dries up for stretches of time. And that had happened for the first 30 games of the season, really, when he was in Seattle. He was not nearly good enough. So recouping a second rounder, I got no problem with. It's a Seattle Kraken team that I think you're right, James. I'm sorry, I said it at the time. The Chandler Stevenson and Brandon Montour signings were absolutely. I don't want to use too.
Somebody's got to make the money.
So I don't want to use too strong of a word. Um, I almost said brain dead. It was very silly to do that with Brandon Montour and Chandler Stevenson. And they're at a position now where it's burying Matty Beniers and Shane Wright in the lineup. It's burying Berkeley Catton in the lineup. So for Seattle, I think.
I think you can fault the Stevenson signing there, but not the Montour thing.
Yeah. Oh no, he's been way
And
better.
then you know what? I at times have agreed with the Stevenson thing, but he's there to make those guys fight for that role and to give them some more sheltered minutes. None of those guys have been nearly good enough Shane Wright has not been good enough. Matty Beniers has not been good enough.
Chandler Stevenson joined the Seattle Kraken in 2024-25. So this is his second season there. Matthew Beniers, in his first season with Seattle, put up 24 goals and 57 points. It is
Yeah.
his career high in both of those categories. I think Beniers has been hindered by the fact that the position in the lineup has decreased for him. I understand
Earn
what you're
it.
saying about Wright.
Earn it.
Yeah, sure, sure. But they're in a position right now where thinking of the Seattle Kraken team that is going to compete, it's a Matty Beniers led team right now. It could be Berkeley Catton, it could be Jake O'Brien
He needs to
eventually.
not suck.
Yeah, oh, he hasn't had a great season. I know.
He's had a garbage season,
Yeah.
and last year was a garbage season. He's had one great year, and it was his first year. I totally get where you're coming from with the blocking the way thing. We've agreed on this one lots before, especially like what Columbus was doing with their blue line and things like that. But I just think like having a middle six center overpaid to get you to the cap floor while he can kill penalties and help out a little bit elsewhere on the ice, like Chandler Stevenson isn't so good that he's stopping your young players from breaking in. Those young players need to take that next step, and they just haven't. This Seattle Kraken team is completely falling flat because the guys who are supposed to be their talent and their game breakers are not evolving into their game breakers. In Detroit, you watched a Lucas Raymond on a similar timeline evolve into a true game breaker. Like it's not happening there. I don't think Brandon Montour being signed there to that big deal is a mistake until maybe the last year or two of that contract. But you needed to sign a big fish. You needed to sign someone who's won a cup, and you needed to sign someone who can move the puck up to these young players. If you don't have good puck movers on your blue line, you're screwed. It's done. It's over. That's going to help the development of these guys, but so far, nothing has helped. Maybe having a different coach every year and a half is a complete joke of a system. Like, get someone and ride them. I don't. I think this team's honestly pathetic.
James, I don't disagree with you when I'm looking at this roster, but I'm looking at this roster as a absolutely build from the bottom, start from
Why is Jordan
scratch.
Eberle the best player on this team?
I yeah. Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
Vince Dunn, I would say, has given him a little bit of a run. They're winning some
Dunn
games
has
just
been
because,
irrelevant this year.
yeah, they're winning some games just because of Joey Daccord too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think this is a down to the studs rebuild for Seattle. And you know what's funny? I kind of thought that Vegas got sucked into this trap a little bit too, James, where you have that success in the first season, and it's like you sit there and you're shaking, and you're like, "Oh, I want more. I want more. I want more." And it's like, yeah, you did it. Congratulations, you went to the second round. Look at your roster and objectively tell me this is a team that is going to the second round. You can't. So your original plan out of the expansion draft was to build through the draft, and they've made a lot of roster decisions that has indicated that. It is kind of the oh, we're gonna half try to be competitive. That to me is just gonna keep falling flat. I really like Berkeley Catton. I really like Jake O'Brien, but you mentioned it that Seattle lacks game breakers as of right now. They picked 20th overall in 2023, took Edward Shala, picked 8th overall 2024, took Berkeley Catton, picked 8th overall 2025, took Jake O'Brien. I don't dislike any of those players. I think those are
I
three
like all of
players.
them.
Yeah, I think those are three players that could all be NHLers. But it has to be said that why are they picking 8th overall? This is a team that should be in the lottery conversation right now. It's a Seattle Kraken team that should be trying to win the 2029 Stanley Cup, not
They had
anything
two top
before
five
that.
picks. That should be good enough.
They did, and it was again.
They had
I
two
will.
top
I
five picks, both of them
cannot.
centers. This is
I
why is this not good enough?
I cannot overstate the COVID impact. The fact that Beniers was 2021. Shane Wright didn't even play a game in his draft year, right?
Capo
Um,
Caco's on this team. He's a second overall pick. What's he
yeah.
doing? He was
Oh,
great last year after the move from New York, and he's just invisible this year. Does
I
nothing.
I expected more out of 21-year-old Yanni Newman as well. I thought the Ty Cartier hype when he was a kid was way too high, and it's kind
He
of
scored two
he's
playoff goals. It's I don't
yeah.
care.
I was correct about that. But yeah, Kako, you gotta expect more. The one guy that's like sub 28 that is showing up is Eli Tolvanen. And
That was a good move.
yeah, and I think we are so high on Eli Tolvanen because we thought he was going to be a superstar, and then he looked like he wasn't going to be an NHLer. So we're just kind of like, okay, you did it. Congratulations, you're a second
Yeah.
liner. That might be end of list. So I did not expect this to turn into a impromptu dump on Seattle because they didn't do bad with this Marchment thing.
Dude, I'll dump on him whenever I want at this
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
But it started as a dump on me because I was wrong. I was wrong about the form of asset management. So I mean, you get that one win, Seattle. Enjoy. Have fun.
I think
I
Brandon
hope that their
Montour.
fans are still filling the barn. When I went and saw that playoff game against the Avalanche there, it was loaded, it was loud, people were passionate, people were friendly and making conversation. They loved it. And so that's really cool to see. I hope that's something that continues.
Oh, it's a city. It's an excellent city. I can't. I'm not going to say that about every city with an
I'm
NHL
not
team.
going to go as far as saying it's an excellent city. It's
Yeah,
cool to watch sports in.
yeah, yeah.
I think it's a dump.
I like the people, and I like water.
I I I was extremely disappointed by their nightlife. Everywhere I've gone and eaten food was pretty subpar, and but I didn't go to the market, so like maybe that would have saved the entire experience.
No, it's
I
solid.
I love Climate Pledge Arena though.
Yeah, yeah.
That is a sick place.
I don't disagree. So we kind of were at the bottom of our opinion of hockey. We were scraping off the bottom of our shoes. We got to go up top now because I talked about it over and over and over and over again in the summer and going into this season. There is an extra gear that some players will shift into in an Olympic year. There is a fire that representing your country and succeeding your country lights under passionate hockey players. Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, Macklin Celebrini have all embraced that this season. We've talked a lot about Celebrini, but these two guys, McDavid and MacKinnon, who were so instrumental in the Four Nations win last year, are looking like guys who really, really, really want it again this year. Connor McDavid in December. Okay, I'm going to read out his game log for you. Pointless in his first game of the month against the Minnesota Wild. Since then, 3 goals and 4 points against Seattle, 2 assists against Winnipeg, 2 goals against Buffalo, 4 assists against Detroit, 2 goals and 3 points in Toronto, an assist in Montreal, 2 goals and 4 points in Pittsburgh, goal and 2 points in Boston, goal in Minnesota, and goal and 3 points at home to Vegas last night. That is crazy, crazy stuff from this guy. It's what we've come to expect from Connor McDavid. Yes, he's now leading the league in points with 62. That is in only 37 games. James will absolutely love to talk more about Nathan MacKinnon, but Nathan MacKinnon has scored himself 30 goals in 35 games, which is an incredible pace. And if you are asking me, these are the two players, and they're playing the hockey that I would have absolutely loved them to be playing in this Olympic year going into the 2026 Milan games. I am very, very happy with what these guys are doing, and that is not to mention the rest of the scoring leaders because Celebrini's been incredible, Draisaitl's been incredible, Bedard, Scheifele, Makar have all been absolutely phenomenal this year, and I'm incredibly happy to see these Canadian guys step up in a year where they're going to have to step up in the biggest possible way in 2 months from now.
Couldn't agree more, my friend. These guys have been world beaters as always, and it's unfortunate that it's the standard for them now because like they have no choice but to be great. Otherwise, we're like, what the hell's going on with them?
I looked up top at the total point standings. There's a quick thing to mention at the top of the defenseman point standings. It is Makar in first with 43. Second place is 40 points from Zach Werenski. He was having such a good season, but he blocked a shot last night.
Ugh.
And his ankle, like he didn't stand on it. Who's Columbus's goalie last night? I think Mers Lincoln's had to push him to the bench. He was in the defensive zone. Mers Lincoln skated out of his crease to push Werenski towards the bench. His skate blade didn't come off. It was just a shot on the ankle. So I
Ugh.
really hope this guy's okay, because when he's healthy, this is a top three defenseman in the NHL. But the problem over the last 5 years has been him not being able to stay healthy. He is the Columbus Blue Jackets, so you gotta cross your fingers that the NHL isn't losing another superstar, especially one that we haven't seen as much of Zach Werenski as we could have been, and we arguably should have been in his career to now, just because of his health. So best to him. Hopefully, if he misses time, it is 2 months and not a second more.
Big blow to the U.S. Olympic team as well, if the case.
That's what I meant. 2 months and not a second more.
Yeah. Jacob Fowler, you want to set aside some time for him.
So it's kind of funny. Last week we were talking about young goaltenders again because of how good Spencer Knight has been playing, how good Jesper Wallstedt's been playing, and at the time we had a really hot stretch out of Yaroslav Askarov with the San Jose Sharks. And you had asked me, James, who's next? And I said, well, Boston College's Jacob Fowler had some incredible NCAA seasons, and he's in Laval having a good season in Laval so far. I think there is no way that this first year pro gets called up on a team in which the goaltending situation is any better than Montreal's was. Sam Montembeault has been a train wreck all season long.
Yep.
Jakob Dobj has been what Jakob Dobj should be, which is a guy who, when given 1B minutes, is really, really solid. But when you ask Jakob Dobj to pick up more of a workload than those 1B minutes, you kind of start to see the cracks shine through. Now, Dobj is also not totally experienced. I don't think that being a 1D is his ceiling, but Montreal needed reinforcements. They call on Jacob Fowler, and James, he has been really, really solid. So Montreal, this is their goalie of the future. I don't think it's the goalie that's going to win them playoff series right now, but after just 18 total games in Laval, he's already up in Montreal. He's got a shutout, 2 wins out of 4 games, 915 save percentage. Really good so far. Obviously, it's 4 games into his NHL career, but I just thought it was very cool that we were talking about who's next. And then, quite frankly, I think it was 3 days after we talked about Jacob Fowler as being the next one, Montreal called him up to give him his NHL debut. Awesome for Fowler and for Montreal Canadiens fans that have enjoyed the rise of these young guys. It was Lane Hudson last year. Montreal have 2 of the top 4 rookie points leaders right now, James. Demidov's tied for first with 28. Oliver Kapanen is down in 4th. He's got 19 points. So the youth wave in Montreal continues here with the goaltending, and Jacob Fowler's not going to hoist the Stanley Cup in the next 2 seasons as the starting goaltender, but when Montreal's ready a few years from now, he's going to be the backstop, and Montreal's lucky to have him.
100%. And as are some of the fantasy owners who are desperate for a goalie. Of which there are plenty, because it's been a funny league for goalies this year. It's been quite interesting because you get about a dozen guys who just dominate on a night-to-night basis, and then you get about 8 guys in platoon situations, and then everyone else is pretty irrelevant. So if you're in a fairly deep league, chances are a good handful of guys in your league are completely screwed and can't find a so hopefully they can enjoy the Jacob Fowler train as long as possible. Let's cheer for the young guy and let him ride it out. Speaking of cheering for the young guys, the World Juniors are coming up. There's been lots of roster talk, lots of excitement, and man, am I excited to see what these teams have to offer this year, man. It's going to be a great tournament. Aiden, what are you most excited for storyline wise heading in?
Yeah, so I'll quickly kind of take it away from 2026 World Juniors for a second. I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk about the 2022 U18 championships. Sweden beat the United States in the gold medal game in that tournament, and those 2 groups 2 years later end up playing a World Junior gold medal game against each other. The birth years, the 2004 birth years, 2005 birth years, 2006, the United States had the better core. They did. They won that U18s, they beat Canada in that U18s. They lost in the final to Sweden. They won back-to-back World Juniors tournaments now with this group as they go into this season. Now we're going to talk about the 2024 U18 World Championships because Gavin McKenna, T. Ginla, Porter Martone, and Carter George, Cole Baudouin, Jet Lushenko, all these guys led Canada to a tournament win that year, beating the James Higgins and Cole Hudson led United States. If you haven't seen anything from that tournament, I will implore you. The YouTube channel that hosts our podcast is called Canada Owns Hockey. There's highlights of that entire gold medal game. I think it's 46 minutes worth of highlights where you see so many of the guys that will be in this tournament. I brought up that birth year thing to say that these 2007, 2008 Canadians are another level above the birth years before. So Canada is on another upswing. Not that it was a downswing, but they are on the way up to the World Junior team. We're talking this should be kind of like 2023. Don't forget 2023's team started with a 5-2 loss to Czechia. I'm not saying this team's going to go a perfect 7-0 like 2015 did, but it's a team absolutely loaded with talent in a way that the 2023 team was and should have very similar expectations on this Canadian squad. No Sam Dickinson, no Berkeley Catton, obviously no Matthew Schaefer, obviously no Macklin Celebrini. Ben Kindle stings as well. Would have been there, should have been there. But regardless, I'm looking at this Team Canada and I'm saying Ivar Stenberg of Sweden's the only guy that scares me in beating this team. Cole Hudson as well.
I'm excited to watch Michael Misa tear it up. I think that'll be a lot of fun. He didn't get to represent this team last year, didn't really make the cut, even though he was having one of the best offensive seasons I've seen from an OHL guy in recent memory. But yeah, I'm really, really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I want to touch on this Swedish team a little bit. You mentioned Ivar Stenberg. He is putting up one of the best seasons we've ever seen from a draft eligible Swede in the SHL. It's just been fantastic. He plays for Frölunda, 23 points in 24 games. I believe that total has probably changed a little bit now. I'm just looking. That's from a couple weeks ago. But man, he's in a dogfight for a spot in the top three of the 2026 NHL entry draft. He's could be end up ahead of Verhoff if McKenna stumbles or gets injured. He could be ahead of him. It's a lot of fun to see where this guy ends up and see him on the biggest stage among guys his age. Victor Eklund, 16th overall pick to the Islanders in last year's draft. He'll be fantastic to watch. Anton Frondell, this will be a major, major coming out party for those who aren't super familiar with him among NHL fans. He was third overall to Chicago in last year's draft. And then Sasha Boumediene, watch for him as well. Late first rounder last year to the Winnipeg Jets. So this is, it's not the deepest Swedish team in recent memory, but the top end of it, the top end is just fantastic. And when it's guys this age, that's all it takes, man.
There are some Team Swedens that no matter what happens in the first 5 games of this tournament, they get to the semifinal and then it's disappointment from there. As far as Team Sweden's go against the rest of the competition, I thought Sweden was the favorite going into the 2024 tournament in which they lost the final to the United States. I thought Sweden was the favorites in both 2017 and 2018. They lost in the semis and the gold medal game, respectively. Sweden, you didn't mention Eric Nilsson, who's tearing it up at Michigan State this year. Victor Eklund has not had a great season in Djurgårdens in the SHL, but he's a player that you put the puck on his stick and a goal could result in it almost at any point during a game. I am more scared as a Canada fan of Sweden than I am of the United States, but I think the US is deeper. I'll give you
They
that.
definitely are deeper.
Yeah. It's the top end players that scare me a little bit more. I fear Ivar Stenberg and Anton Frondell more than Cole Hudson and James Higgins. It's going to be really interesting to see what Trevor Connolly and Cole Iserman do in this tournament because these
Cole
are two
Iserman could
guys.
have the craziest tournament, but he could also be invisible.
Yeah, well, he scored a lot of goals despite being invisible last year. It was both. Like he
Hmm.
was productive and invisible, and I almost kind of expect that out of him again, where he's gonna skate on maybe James Higgins' wing, stand there, and then take a one-timer every time he gets the puck. And he might score 7 goals in 7 games doing that. I don't know how much else he's going to contribute to the team. More so than Iserman, I think the underrated player on the squad that's going to make a huge difference is Will Horkoff. He's an early 2007 birthday, University of Michigan right now. Pittsburgh picked him 24th overall this year. This is a guy that's grown into being 6'5" already. He is physically very mature. He's among the biggest players in this tournament. And for the United States, it is a bonus to have a guy that is a year younger than many of his teammates be so good in the NCAA this season and project to be so good on this U.S. World Junior team. So the top end guys, Sweden scares me more. The U.S. is a deep enough team that if the top end players go through some adversity, I think guys lower down in the lineup can take that step forward. Goes the same for Canada. Cole Baudouin, Jet Lushenko were both top end players. They were both guys that played at the top of the lineup for Canada last season at different points. They're going to be role players this year. So they can start out as third liners, start out as fourth liners. But again, if you see a Michael Hage sputter, Cole Baudouin's a very smart player. He can go play on that second line. So it's the depth of both Canada and the United States that if they win, we'll win it for them. For Sweden, it's those high-end players, those game breakers that can make anything happen at any time.
And talking about one more team, definitely not on the deep end of it, but last year they had a complete star in this tournament. That was goaltender Petteri Rimponen. He was the voted goaltender of the tournament, fifth rounder of the LA Kings a couple years back. Fantastic, fantastic showing. So if the Finns are going to have any chance whatsoever, it's going to be completely on his back. So you like to cheer for the underdog. It'll be fun to watch, but when your high scoring team comes into a game against the Finns, expect things to tighten up a little bit.
So Finland, to me, yeah, you talked about Petteri Rimponen. Finland's Konsta Helenius is the best U20 Finnish player right now. Buffalo and general manager Jarmo Kekalainen isn't going to loan him out. And it's not because Helenius is in a key position with the Buffalo Sabres. He's playing for the Rochester Americans right now, and that was the same story last season. He was excellent. He was one of their best forwards. He wasn't their most productive one. I think Benjamin Rautiainen ended up being their most productive forward. But two-way game, everything he did, he was the best player on that forward core for the Finns. Yeah, they're getting Aaron Karavaharju. But Helenius, for me, James, I don't want to go into too much of a rant about this, but you see prospects get drafted, and you see some prospects sit there and say, no, I don't want to play for you. I'm not signing. Trade me where I want to go. Konsta Helenius hasn't done that at all. He's drafted by the Buffalo Sabres, which has been one of the worst franchises in the NHL for the last decade and a half.
Is that supposed to be a Cutter Gauthier voice?
That was just supposed to be take your pick: Cutter Gauthier, Adam Fox, Rucker McGroarty. I don't care. Any of them.
Do any of them sound like that? That voice was strange.
I'm just for me, it's mimicking a spoiled, entitled child, which is how I see that. Now, Konsta Helenius, no such thing. But if I'm Konsta Helenius, I'm so angry right now. I'm so upset. I'm upset enough that I would not blame this guy if he said to the Buffalo Sabres, get rid of me. I don't want to play for you guys anymore. Like, he's playing in the AHL. There's no reason at all not to send this guy. And it wasn't an injury. It wasn't health concerns. It was just, per the story, Kekalainen believes Helenius' role in the AHL is important. I'll sit here and I'll rail against young players who think they're entitled to go wherever they want without playing an NHL game in their entire careers. But Konsta Helenius has been a Rochester American for 2 years in a row. It's a player that could easily be a key top six contributor to the Buffalo Sabres for years to come. I do not understand why you would not let this guy go play for his country. If you look back at some of the guys that have popped up in clutch ways in the Stanley Cup playoffs, some guys that have popped up in huge ways in Game 7s. Think about a Nick Paul, James. Nick Paul, in the first however many years of his career, did not play at the World Juniors once. Did not play in the NHL playoffs once. His biggest game in his hockey career until he joined the Tampa Bay Lightning was the 2015 World Junior Gold Medal game. He was clutch in that game. He was a bottom six forward, but he popped up to score a big goal. He was excellent. Sometimes the most high pressure situations any of these players are going to experience is in the World Juniors. It is, I think, amazing for development to put these players in playoff like stakes and have them feel the pressure, have them feel the victory, have them feel the defeat. It's an element of experience that you cannot emulate in the AHL. It's a level of experience that you can't emulate because nobody cares about playing for the Rochester Americans as much as Constable Helenius would have cared about wearing the C for Finland. Again, you have players who get drafted high and say to the team that drafted them, actually, no, go to hell. But the Buffalo Sabres, who have been a struggling franchise forever to me, just did something that if I'm their number one prospect, I'm furious about. Um, I I have nothing. I have no explanation. I have no reason why they should possibly not let him go.
Fair points. Fair points all around. Aiden, anything else about the World Juniors? Any timelines, key dates for watchers and listeners to pay attention to?
Yeah, they have two teams they played last year. They lost to Czechia in the quarterfinal. They have Czechia in their group, and they beat Finland in the first game of the tournament. They
Who's
have
they?
Finland in the group. That's Canada. That is Canada. Um, Finland is a very interesting team because no matter what they look like on paper, they seem to start not that impressive and then get really, really, really good. um, Canada plays the Czechs at 7:30 local. That's 4:30 Pacific on Boxing Day, and then 7:30 local, 4:30 Pacific on New Year's Eve is the game against Finland. The second group has the United States and Sweden in it, so you don't want to finish third. That's what happened to Canada last year. They beat Finland, but Finland beat the US. They end up underneath the United States and Finland. They finish third. They get the second toughest team in the group, and it ends up being the eventual bronze medal winning Czechs. So for Canada, the group stage have a lot of games they would, you'd expect them to win, you'd want them to win, but don't forget last year they beat the Finns, then they turned around, they lost to Latvia in a game they should have won. They lost to the United States in a game they probably should have won as well. So for the Canadians, it is winning the games you need to win because come that quarterfinal, you want to be playing Switzerland or Slovakia a lot more than you want to face down the Swedes so early on.
It's time for our weekly Fantasy Gamblers Roundup, listeners, because you need to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and know when to walk away. We've talked Jacob Fowler on this week's episode. This is as hot of a card in your hand as you can get. It's you don't know how long you want to be holding this card for. It's the kind of situation where you want to milk as much as you possibly can out of it while still being able to get something back for it. You're gonna get a nice, fun little run out of your Jacob Fowler here, but it's still a three-horse race in Montreal's crease. You just because of the contract situation, you're not just suddenly going to get Jacob Fowler running away with the starting job the rest of the season. That's not how these things work. In a dream scenario, yes, would absolutely love that. That's fantastic. But it just doesn't work that way these days. So, I mean, unless a move is made, you're not going to see Fowler start 60, 70% of the games for the remainder of the season. He may pull out about a third of them. So you could see 25 starts out of Fowler by the time season's end comes. That would be a great number. But my point is, do not. And I repeat, do not pray for this guy to save your squad. I'm looking at you, Joe Shan, a proud member of our fantasy league. He's not going to save you. It's not happening. Not happening at all. Another one, another fun little one here. This is a player who's going to have many of these moments throughout the season. You when you're looking at Valerie Nichushkin or really any winger on the Colorado Avalanche, you're looking at okay, they are hot right now, they're in the good situation right now, but you need to kind of try and calculate who's going to be where for how long. Nichushkin in his last 5 games has 7 points. He fills the other categories incredibly well. In one of those games, he had 8 shots on goal in just 17 minutes of time on ice. So it's in addition to the hits, in addition to the potential blocks, this is a guy that covers every category. So when he's hot numbers wise in terms of offensive production, you really want to ride him as long as you possibly can. So I'm going to say it's not time to walk away on this one whatsoever. You've probably had to be patient if you have him on your roster because of the injury to start the season and then the lack of production as he kind of feels his way into the a pretty stacked lineup. But you're getting quite a bit out of him right now. I don't foresee that ending in the near future. So ride it while you can. No point walking away. Aiden, do you have a player for us this week?
I think I've got two. Now, my thinking with these guys, they've started to heat up a little bit. So this is a, if you are having this guy enticed away from you and you think, well, he hasn't had that good of a season, maybe I'll sell him off now. I'm going to implore you not to do it. It's two guys. It's Sam Bennett and it's Steven Stamkos. Two players who started the season borderline abysmal by their standards. Bennett came off a Conn Smythe Trophy win. Stamkos again off of one of the worst seasons of his career in Nashville, 53 points in 82 games last season. They both had really dismal starts to the season, but in the last month, Sam Bennett in 15 games, 8 goals and 10 assists. Steven Stamkos as well has been absolutely phenomenal in the last month. He's got 10 goals in 15 games, James. He had 4 in the first 20 of the season. 20 games, I believe Steven Stamkos, it was 4 goals and 1 assist. Now he's up to 14 and 20 points in 35 games. And that's what I mean. Those numbers look like a guy that you might not want to hold on to. They look like a guy that is struggling. But you got to take into account over the last month, 15 games, Stamkos got 10 goals and 15 points. Likewise with Sam Bennett, he's still 10 off being a point per game player. But in the last month, 18 points in 15 games. He's coming back around. As is a couple other Florida Panthers players, Sam Reinhart and Carter Verhaeghe, both had a little bit of a slow start to the season. They're both heating up. The most consistent Florida Panther has been and continues to be Brad Marchand. Kudos to him at the advanced age in which he is.
Have fun grabbing him as a rental near the end of your season. Enjoy. That's it for our fantasy gamblers roundup this week. It's getting more and more fun to do these things because once you get into the middle of the season, there are guys who pop up for 5, 10, 15 games and they just go crazy. So it's nice to get a good little bit of a read on them as we go on. But Aiden, enough hockey for now. Let's pivot away. Time for shows and movies. What have you been watching?
Well, this is very recent. I had, I want to say, yeah, it was 5 friends over last night. The first time 2 of them had ever watched Interstellar.
Oh,
It's not a movie that I think I need to say, oh, guys, go watch Interstellar because it's one of the
that's
most popular movies of the last
for, like
20 years.
for my money, it's the best movie ever made. We've talked about this.
Oh, yeah,
We,
yeah.
we've
And
talked about my opinion on why that is before. It's a very conditional thing, but yeah, that capturing that natural human curiosity and the sense for adventure while keeping the stakes so high and the visuals involved and the acting performances involved, you're not going to be able to fill all those categories as well.
so it's phenomenal, James. I'll mention something that I noticed. I think this might have been only the second time I've ever watched this movie. So I'll say with the entire story and the entire world having been built in my head and not like unfolding in front of me, knowing what the situation they were in was, I was almost infuriated at the selfishness it must take to act
Burying the
on
lead.
buried the lead. I was going to say the selfishness it takes those characters to act on their emotional impulses on second watch made me sit there and just hate some of them. Just
In Interstellar.
yes,
Oh,
yes. And if you watch that movie again
Matt
with the
Damon.
whole yeah, oh Matt Damon's the biggest one, but even to a degree, everybody has their human moments despite signing up to be
That's
yeah.
that's why it's the best movie.
Oh, hey, and there are times where you see the emotion like Cooper, right? The main character. You see the emotion out of Cooper the entire time, the pain it's taking him to leave his family. but the thing is, he
Oh, when he watches all of the caught up videos that are
yes,
backlogged.
yeah.
Just
Um,
gut wrenching.
yeah, and I think even there's a line where Bard, Anne Hathaway's character, kind of says, you know what this is, but you're not ready for it. Um, and to me, it's like us, we can sit there and be like, yeah, I get it. And I totally was like, yeah, I get it. But then you take a step back and you're like, you've worked your whole life to be in this position, knowing this was the position you're in. like now is not the time to be human.
You could work your whole life to in the military to go to war, and then you're in the trenches, and it's not all it's cracked out to be.
Oh,
Not
dude, not
nearly as
all it's
fair to
cracked
be
out to
fought.
be. Listen. War in general should be cracked out to be hell on earth because it is.
Yeah.
Like, I think any. Again, we don't need to go down a rabbit
I
hole.
worked with a
Any.
guy in the labor field who at one point was like, "Yeah, I would totally like love to be at war," and I was like, "No,
Yeah,
you wouldn't. Like, you don't know
that
this."
that's one of the most ignorant things I think a human being can say.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, incredible movie. Did these people watching it for the first time, did they love it?
Yeah, they were both big fans of it, and I was with me and three other people that all were very, very big fans of it. Um,
Uh, I think my third watch through of that movie was my favorite one.
yeah. Oh, hey, I liked it the second time more than I liked it the first time.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why I don't want to spoil it at the end, but when you watch it the second time, you kind of reconcile the bootstrap paradox a little bit in your head. And that was what I struggled with a lot at the beginning is I need the continuity of the logic in a movie like that because if it doesn't make sense, everything before it's like, okay, so you made me buy into this world and this incredible movie, but you didn't even make it make sense. And there was an element of that to me in the end of the first watch, but once you watch the whole movie again, kind of with the knowledge of how it ends and why it ends that way, um, I think the paradox gets a little bit reconciled. I was able to enjoy it more the second go.
Well, I'm going to take things in a much less serious direction. I've been really excited for the return of a TV show that was fantastically done as a video game adaptation last year. I'm talking about Amazon Prime's Fallout. I played the Fallout games, Fallout 3, 4, New Vegas, a little bit of their stupid garbage online money maker, Fallout 76. I've spent a lot of hours on this franchise, and the in-depth like lore in game is just fantastic. Like you go and do a side quest where it's like it's all inspired by HP Lovecraft stories, and you're just like finding all these people who have gone mad, and the source of it is something from a cool piece of literature, and it's the world building done is just incredible. So they put out this show starring Ella Purnell and Walton Goggins, and it's a lot of fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far. The first season was goofy, wild, racy, and everything in between that you would expect from a TV show from this series. And it's really cool to see a video game adaptation done in a way where fans of the series actually like it. Because when they've done that with other things for example, Halo, that's the like worst video game adaptation TV show I've ever encountered. I'm actually like angry at its existence anytime I come across it. And they're throwing a bunch of fun actors in this. Uh, Moises Arias, who played Rico in Hannah Montana, he's the younger brother in this. Macaulay Culkin is being introduced in this season, as some kind of key character. Johnny Pemberton, who was a really funny character in the show Superstore, he was like the pregnant teenager's boyfriend, baby daddy in that show. He's in this. Like they've done a really good job of putting these people together, and it's a ton of fun. And they've been very faithful to the lore at the point where the creator of the games has said that the TV show is now canon to the series and will be referenced in the next game they put out.
How often does that happen?
Never, never. So I really want to take a second to thank them for putting out such an awesome product, and everyone I know who's played the games loves it. So that's a fantastic sign. I've only heard one person complain about it, and that's a person who has terrible opinions and can't be pleased with anything other than Family Guy. So
Other than
it's
Family.
yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and this person liked the Halo TV show. So like their opinion is completely invalid. Um I also in the last little while have I guess this is a little streaming wars update. Crave has brought in all of the CTV retro TV content. It's their whole new marketing thing. All of these new things for the same great price. Blah blah blah. I'm not pumping their tires. I'm not telling you to go subscribe, but it's given me the opportunity to go back and watch a couple sitcoms, and I am really hooked on Will and Grace right now.
Yeah, you told me that.
It's a very funny show. I thoroughly recommend it to anyone just looking for a couple laughs. And if you aren't buying into it right away, I think the fourth or fifth episode's a Halloween episode. Just watch the first 5 minutes. That's all I had to show to my girlfriend, and she was hooked. She says she's gonna go home and give it a watch. So I hope I can pass that on to someone else who's maybe looking for a laugh or two heading into the holiday season. But it's enough for shows and movies for me now.
Okay, we're a hockey podcast and we're talking about TV shows. I feel obliged to mention that Crave has a show right now, okay? It's called Heated
Oh
Rivalry.
yeah, yeah.
Here's the synopsis. Two rival hockey
Oh,
stars at the top of their game face an unexpected challenge when they develop feelings for each other, complicating their careers and the sport's expectations. Now, I read this, I looked at it, and I was like, this looks so corny. Now, I didn't write it off as I'm never gonna watch it. I looked at
me and
it.
Jesse watched the first 20 minutes.
That's it. That's all you could get through.
Yeah, like I said, I watched about 20 minutes in with my buddy Jesse into the first episode, and it, it, there's a shower scene, and it gets fairly spicy fairly quickly, and to the point which I hadn't seen something exactly like that in a TV show before. I've watched some pretty racy TV shows. Like I've definitely watched like a lot of what HBO has to offer, and I definitely yeah I hadn't seen a shower scene like this one before. And I mean, yeah, if you're looking for something spicy and filled with sexual tension, dive in, have fun, give her a go. I've heard like hockey smut is one of the biggest up and coming genres right now, so it's interesting to see what else we get. Sean Avery's book Summer Skate is like going crazy, selling insanely well. So yeah.
Here's what I'll say though. Here's what I'll say. Whether this is a show worth watching or not, because again, I'll give it a go, especially just based on the reviews. It is incredibly highly regarded on the consensus front. If you're telling me it is more so based on the popular appeal of the structure and not so much the story, I'll keep that in mind. Hockey, James, has been, I think, one of the sports that I think LGBTQ plus people have felt maybe the least accepted into. So what I will say is
Oh, this is a fantastic entry point.
I like it as far as an entry point. Yeah. And I hope that if anybody had previously felt shut out of the hockey world, you need to know you're not, and there's always a place for you here. I think that's the way to end it off.
100%. We won't talk to you guys again before the holidays come and go. So I would just like to say now, be safe, take care of those around you, don't drink and drive. Yeah, a lot of things can go right, a lot of things can go wrong over the holidays, but many of these wrong occasions can be avoided if you just play it safe. Walk home, get a ride home, take a cab, find a family member or friend who's sober, be safe, drive alive, all of those things. Yeah, I wish all of you the merriest of Christmases, happiest of holidays, and just enjoy it as best you can. So without further ado, let's roll that outro. Thanks, guys.